Heaven has its merits, but I much prefer the field of battle.
3 seconds before you attack.
Stop my grand scheme.
We must not delay, Lady Widow. Follow me to glorious victory.
Hold on, Angela. We need to strike our enemies before they know we're coming.
The hand of heaven does not enter a battle unannounced.
Hans X-Men cartoon theme is
Welcome back to the coolest channel on YouTube. Go ahead, smash that like button because y'all already know how we get down over here. This is gonna be another amazing banger for y'all, man. Let's do 15,000 likes, man. Share these videos with your friends and your families. Yes, y'all did hit that 20,000 like on multiple videos. So guess what? I am buying the infrared goggles, and I'll have a vlog pretty soon going around trying to find different heat signatures out here, man. Go ahead, smash that like button. Let's get this one to 100,000 likes. I'm just playing, but look, man, I'm excited to be doing this. I was hoping that y'all would hit the milestone, and we definitely did that, man. But brace yourself for this compilation right here. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to get you to think.
Just what I needed.
But look, man, if you're going through a tough time, just know you're not in it by yourself. We're going through this thing called life together. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 1 million. Let's get it.
You know what I wanted to talk about today? However, I'll save it for tomorrow, but this Project Looking Glass in the CIA, I wonder what they saw. Looking into the future, stealing not Egyptian but Sumerian technology, which is what they did. These are culture vultures. These Egyptsies is what they are. They wear whatever mask they need to. Do I have to pretend to be Catholic? Do I have to pretend to be Jewish? Do I have to pretend to be Muslim? No, they're thieves. They're glorified thieves is what these people are. And they've always been this since the beginning of history. And they stole some Sumerian technology that allowed them to predict outcomes. And that technology stopped working in 2012.
They should have never showed you it worked. They should have never showed you it worked. You about to go 10 times as hard as you already going now. They can't touch you. They should have never showed you it worked.
So that Project Looking Glass shit kind of make a lot of sense now. So if you don't know about Project Looking Glass, basically like they've been remote viewing the past and the future since like the 70s, right? But once they made it to around 2012, it's like you can't manipulate time no more. It all kind of just meshed. And, you know, 2012, if you remember, this is when all these Mandela effects start hitting us all at the same time, right? And anyone who knows anything, like if you was cognitive and alert back then, you know, like the world for sure changed after 2012. Then the next election we had was 2016, special year. And we had somebody who was not a politician become the president, and Donald Trump. Now on Project Looking Glass, they say like basically once it gets to around 2026, 2027, they can't see anything at all, but all they can see is that the world, like all the powerful governments and all the powerful people in the world, they fall. And they're like, this over with forever. And I just find it to be so funny that like, these Epstein files might be strong enough, important enough, or whatever to really change the tables around. Because we got to think about the scenarios of like, if all the former presidents was out here doing crazy stuff with children, right? No way we can just let this government stand, right? Like, I know we don't fight for nothing, pretty much. We paying taxes and funding a genocide, and we don't fight for nothing. But maybe these files, like, when they get truly released and we see everything that really happened, maybe it's so crazy that the government just dethroned and something new happens.
It's because it's all of them.
Prince Andrew getting arrested is a representation of biblical context when you're talking about Revelation chapter 12, when you have the fall of the red dragon, where you have Michael or Michael Melchizedek, which is also a representation of Uranus in Gemini, where you have spiritual revolution by way of truth, because truth is a sword that slays the dragon. Uranus and Gemini, all the way up into the time of 2033, is a representation of the Christ energy. So it's not a coincidence that Prince Andrew gets arrested right after the snake year, because it's the shedding of corporations. It's the shedding of a fraudulent system that was interconnected to the Epstein files. Now, when you get into the inception of the oligarchy monarchy system that's interconnected to the Order of the Red Dragon that was propagated by Count Dracula or Count Dracula, who was also known as the Black Hats, who are Satanists. So it's not a coincidence when you're talking about the Epstein files, it's talking about cannibalism, because cannibalism in itself is the personification of Canaanite culture. So when you look at the coat of arms of Prince Andrew, it shows you the same symbolism of the Order of the Red Dragon, which is a secret society that is also interconnected to the Epstein files. So with that being said, if you understand symbolism, planetary alignments, and gematria, you will know that the simulation is playing out the script of the Bible.
Meanwhile, they're arresting people in other countries, but none here. It's just so many of them. Like, how you do that all at once?
Nah, you don't find this suspicious? Hold me down this rabbit hole.
Truman's awakening begins when a star labeled Sirius falls from the sky between two pillars. Then there's the dome, the staircase, the all-seeing eye, and the grand architect. One of the Rothschilds was even a producer on the film. So the question is, what message is being encoded here? First, we need to understand Gnosticism. In Gnostic cosmology, the material world isn't created by the true God. Instead, it's a prison created by a false deity called the Demiurge. According to this belief, the Demiurge traps divine souls in matter, keeping them ignorant through deception and control. The uninitiated live in ignorance, controlled by false narratives and false gods. A fabricated dome world. He's kept ignorant of true reality. In Gnostic terms, he represents the divine spark trapped in matter. Christoph, meaning of Christ, sits in a lunar command center, controlling everything like a god. He believes he's benevolent and is giving Truman a chance to live a good life. The Demiurge also believes his prison is paradise. She's the one trying to wake Truman up, breaking the rules to tell him that his world isn't real and he has to get out. Then there's Marlin, his best friend who appears with beer every time Truman questions reality. In Gnosticism, the Archons use intoxication and distraction to keep souls asleep and compliant. Truman's journey to break through the dome is the journey from illusion to reality. Another symbol used in the Truman Show is one we have all become much too familiar with. The Eye of Horus from ancient Egypt. It's the third eye of enlightenment, the pineal gland. It's the eye that looks at you through your phone's camera. And of course, what appears on the back of the dollar bill. Truman's programmed fear is water. His father's staged drowning was created to keep him imprisoned. And what must he do to escape? Sail into Christoph's storm and experience the drowning he was programmed to fear, a symbolic death and rebirth. After his baptism into the mystery schools, he ascends the Freemasonic staircase of enlightenment.
This is what the elite believe, by the way.
There's 16 total steps, but they are reflected in the water below.
He comes to the wall.
As above, so below. And that makes it 32 steps, with his final step out of the door being the 33rd.
Like the 33rd Mason.
There's one more layer we need to talk about. You.
Follow me for part 2.
There is so much symbolism in these movies that this video alone is going to talk about all the symbolism in all these movies. This is a machine from 13 Ghosts. And if you didn't see my video yesterday, basically, there's 13 ghosts in the 13th. Sacrifices itself. A willing sacrifice. Pay attention to how the machine looks. This is another view of it. Kind of looks like something. Have you ever seen the flat earth globe model? Yeah, kind of favors it. But that's not what I was referring to. That's what I was referring to. If you notice in 13 Ghosts, they had what was going to be the willing sacrifice in the middle. In this eye represents the all-seeing eye. Those eyes on top represent the planets. This is a picture of our solar system. Doesn't it look the same? I'm getting there. Pay attention. Friday the 13th represents sacred geometry. Let's think about the movie Friday the 13th. Again, dealing with death, rebirth, and sacrifice. It's always an innocent sacrifice. Ever notice how Jason loved his mom so much in Friday the 13th? It's because it's connected to feminine energy in the 13 moon cycles. Have you ever seen the symbolism for it though? This represents Venus and Earth, if you didn't know. Oh, and if you didn't know, the number 13 in tarot represents death. But all this 13 talk got me thinking about one of my favorite movies, The Men in Black. Pay attention to what they're sitting in, just in case you need a visual again. On these vehicles, they're using to time travel. Very similar to the 13 Ghost machine. It can control time. Remember Orion's belt from Men in Black? See the symbolism? Or the light that was given to Earth. This is what happened when they shoot in the air once she leaves. Do you see the symbolism yet? I know. I'm gonna keep going. There's just so much to say. Speaking of Men in Black, have you noticed every single Men in Black? There seems to be a sacrifice. Just thought I'd put that out there. Now let's talk about the Matrix. Do you remember what the machines look like in the Matrix? Does it look like something familiar? Yes, no? Let's talk about the main machine and what it looked like. This is the main machine. What does it look like? An eye? The all-seeing eye? Oh yeah, and Neo sacrifices himself. I'm starting to see a trend. Remember in 13 Ghosts when they were saying that the 13th ghost was a fail-safe? In short terms, it's there in case the system fails. System like a program or a computer. Let's hear what they had to say in the Matrix.
You tried to activate the failsafe. The suits tried.
So what am I saying? We live in a video game. If you don't know what type of angel this is a throne. In the middle is the all-seeing eye. This symbolism is pretty much everywhere. And he who can control this controls the world. But the thing is, we create the reality. That's why it's important if you worship something. Because you'll do things in their favor. Remember how we talked about the gods having their own planets? That's who sits on the throne. Angels, gods, whatever you want to call them. Even agent. It's been in the symbolism. Remember the agents in the Matrix? Let's read one of the jobs of the throne angels. They're believed to be agents of the divine justice. Are you starting to see it? Notice what it looks like. Doesn't look like that to y'all? How about that? That's an atom. That may be a little too deep for now. If you would like me to make a part 3, like and comment. Just note, that's going to come with a warning, because that's pretty deep. In TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes.
And you see the device that she was showing over and over and over and over and over again. That's the same thing that they had in the Oval Office that they presented. It was all gold. They're showing it right there in front of your face. They know that they can no longer see the timeline, and something beyond their understanding is happening, and it's nothing that they can do about it. They're starting to see a remnants of that now, but they're trying to soften the blow and drag it out. But this shit is on their ass. Let's keep going though.
Epstein was literally creating Neanderthal hybrid humanoid beings in his underground tunnels and on his island. This was stated in the Epstein files. They're creating beings that look just like this by splicing their DNA and then creating a homunculus that grows on its own in their labs that they have, and then they do whatever they want to these creatures, which I don't even want to know what they did. It had to be horrifying. If you want to read this for proof, here's from the Epstein files that were released in 2026. I am back from Rome in Vienna now. This is coming from Martin Nowak to Jeffrey Epstein. He said he got a complete Neanderthal genome. Would you like to use this? The two of you could build a Neanderthal person. And so they literally did just that. And they bring the kids that they kidnapped and they torture them by having them interact with these strange homunculus creatures that they created. And the best way to scare someone is by showing them a literal monster at the age of like 3 years old or even younger. Like, you think that's going to scare a kid? Of course it is. It's going to scare them so much that their adrenaline gets pumping and it gets into their blood, and you know what they want from the blood once that happens. And this is all art, but it was made by Patricia Pancini, and she probably made this to expose what was actually going on. She probably saw this with her own eyes. They would have these creatures sleep with the kids that they took. They created taller beings which would steal the kids away and bring them to their evil masters. They would force them to live lives in these underground tunnels and then grow old with other Neanderthals. They probably make them reproduce with each other, so who knows how many of these beings still exist down there. I mean, look at this. This is like half Neanderthal, human, and pig hybrid. If you didn't know, pigs actually have human DNA in them. That's why we shouldn't eat them. And then they grow like this, and they nurse them just like an animal. It's just like really terrifying stuff, but the whole picture is coming together now. We have the artwork, which shows what happens. We have the proof, and the government issued Epstein files that were released. We know that what they're up to, and you know, there's that saying, the truth is stranger than fiction. Well, this is the strangest thing out of anything, and no one talks about it. But this is 100% what happened in those underground tunnels. There's no movies about this because it's too horrifying. It's too scary.
Now is it all starting to make sense to y'all about the Cabbage Patch Kids? Now, how they repopulated after resets? Come on now, they're being manufactured. They're doing this shit in real time in front of our faces.
I remember waking up and I could look across and there was literally hundreds of cages, and there was children, small children in these cages, and they were all attached. So they were in such tremendous pain that they were really tremendous pain. It was a darker energy because obviously the children were being tortured, just absorbing the energy from the children. And I survived it, but a lot of the children in there didn't survive it.
When was this? What age were you when this happened?
I was like 7 years old when this happened.
You were one of those children?
I was one of the children that survived electric shocks. Now they were also had done sort of out of my body, but I could hear and I could see, but it was like a far away sort of thing because I was disassociated really bad. And then I remember that I could hear them speaking, and they were going to take this energy and they were going to put it on food. They were going to throw this dark energy on food. So whoever eats the food would also be, they would be charmed, and they would be energetically, parasitically linked, and they would be depressed and all sorts of. This energy works on the negative emotions. It absorbs it, it likes it, and into the water. That's the pollution of the water. Everybody knows that the human body is made mostly up of water. Well, it's programmable. Water's programmable. The thing is if you mess with the water and pollute the water, and then the people drink that, or it rains down, or they swim in it, or they get in it, obviously effect on them, and lots of different effects on them. So they're trying to do is they're trying to pretty much pollute everybody in the world to where they don't know what's going on anymore. Even if you awaken one, heart-touching memory I have is that I was in space and I could see this black goo or this black smoke encompass Earth, just like smoke encompass it. Yes, it comes from somewhere else, from what I understand. It comes from somewhere else. I'm still trying to figure that out. It puts you in amnesia also.
Like five, that black word that she said, that used to get people's channels taken down like years ago.
I've noticed that the more that you don't remember, it puts you in amnesia. I noticed when I was small, I would see it on I would see on people who abused their children. I would see on murderers. I would see on all sorts of people when they were very negative, I would see on them. And it would express, I had instances where I would talk to somebody and then they would say certain words. And then I'd go down the road and talk to somebody else and they would continue the conversation because it was that same energy speaking through these people that it had hacked into.
Syrian Aramaic. How clever.
Jesus. Honey, is this something? It's true what I said, though. I do know who you are. Please.
Where'd you get that? From Alano's place? You found something up there. Well, some things, pal. You should know.
Like what?
And if you know, you should never ever tell.
My wrath. I saved this because it reminded me of something. In America, we have this tradition where natives are portrayed to hold up their hand and they say, how? I don't know, something racist, I guess. But I've discovered that they held up their hand for a very specific reason. And it wasn't some silly depiction from our Hollywood. It was actually a result of them wanting to see whether or not you had 6 fingers. We have all kinds of these stories in America of these giants, and, you know, anytime the giant bones are found, the Smithsonian shows up and carts it off, and you know, that's probably true. And the more that I look into this prehistoric stuff that's related to the sandcastle culture that I've discovered and the cultures that are associated with the later tech eras, namely like the second tech era, there's a lot of Nephilim stuff going on. And it seems that the Nephilim very much made it for a long time. You know, even after the Younger Dryas cataclysm, they seem to be present. And it appears the early natives in America had to deal with these guys. And so them holding up one hand and saying, how? They probably didn't say how. I don't know. But them doing that was essentially derived from the traditions of wanting to know whether or not you're an enemy. And I don't mean to be getting too deep into the conspiracy spaces because, I mean, try to stay as neutral as possible, but I can't help but get into this prehistoric stuff and discover you can't avoid this topic. And the things that stand out to me are these Nephilim stories from early America. And there's one that I can't find. And if anybody knows of what I'm describing, please, send me the link. But there's a interview of a groundskeeper. This individual worked on the grounds of Jekyll Island, where the Federal Reserve was created. And he told a story where Rockefeller built the clubhouse or whatever structure over this site that was alleged to be a sacrificial site of the former giants that had lived on that specific island. And this groundskeeper described this long story of Rockefeller and all this back and forth about the giants. And you really can't get into early American history or even prehistoric world history without talking about the alleged existence of the Nephilim.
It is true that the Timucua were very tall, but their height would have been further exaggerated by the fact that they exhibited cranial deformation. On top of their already elongated skulls, the Timucua warriors wore lavish plumes, tall enough to make a 7-foot man appear as though he were 9 feet tall. Both sexes were tattooed, but the men especially. According to some sources, about a third of the adult Timucua population were actually hermaphrodites who opted out of warfare and thus were responsible for the manual labor. They also acted as receptive sexual partners for the men and bore a ceremonial significance.
Neat.
I don't believe you. Prove it.
Prove it?
Prove it. Shift somebody.
No. How would you like me to shift?
I don't care. I don't care. Shift. You want me to 15 it? Are you sure? Prove it. Where did she go? Somewhere else.
What is going on here, guys? What? People are saying that means that she's a robot. And I don't believe it, but something's going on with this intro. And it has a lot of people questioning what's going on. No. What is going on here, guys? It's supposed to be Cardi B's intro to her tour. You see that? You know what the Black Crow means? People are saying that every single concert, right? Every single award show or anything, guys, is always dark. Why is that? I mean, come on, you know why. You know exactly why all these shows are straight dark. Because it's a dark world. It is. Shut up! But the light shall shine bright above the earth. And when that day comes, ain't nobody gonna be able to run. So get ready, guys. This is all for now. This is all for now. Nothing lasts forever. That's right, well, guys. Entertainment purposes only. This is Cardi B's new tour. Congrats to her. You already see the crowds going wild. I don't know, guys. What do you think about this? I'm out.
I mean, it's a reason why people stop going to a lot of these damn concerts. Even, I mean the conscious ones anyway, because this shit is crazy. The last one I've been to was I took my daughter to Chris Brown. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't see none of the symbolism. I didn't see none of the crazy shit, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but or else I wouldn't go. That right there is wild. Ain't no damn way. I don't care how much I like your music. I'm not coming here for you to siphon my energy, bro.
Check this out, guys. No way. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Who's that right there? Huh? Who is that right there in the crowd if Britney Spears is on stage, bro? I must be bugging. Let me slow it down.
Might be a good time to stop them.
Hold on stage look like a AI, don't it?
Watch
on
this,
stage
guys.
don't look real.
I know I'm not bugging. Maybe I am. Who's that right here? Who's this? I don't know who this is right here, but it looks like Britney Spears. But how can Britney Spears be in the crowd if she was on stage? Shut up! Mind you guys, that was in the year 2000. The year 2000. It is now 2026. So what you mean to tell me is that they've been doing this 26 years ago? This is what people are saying, guys. Let's not forget that. I didn't make any of this stuff up. People are saying this. I mean, who could confirm this, right? Who could confirm this? Alicia Keys could. She knew. She was there since way back. Maybe we gotta ask her about this. Remember, guys, they said that some of these people were made in Dexter's laboratory. This is what people are saying. I don't believe that. That's full of crap. These are real people, bro. I mean, she sure looks real to me.
Ready for another ghost
But this
fighter?
Britney? I don't know who this is. HW plays no games, and everybody is involved. Who's involved? Nobody, because this video is for entertainment purposes only, guys. Are you kidding me? That was a lady in the crowd that looked like her. Maybe they photoshopped it. Maybe it was AI since way back. Who knows? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. Do your research. HW has had enough of me. This is what they told me. I gotta go.
That was a good point too. I don't think AI was a thing when that thing when she. Oh man.
Got a shield,
I mean, but we already know this, right? We seen the files. Keep going.
You are not ready for what I found in the Epstein files. Remember when I went on Dr. Phil and said that Taylor Swift could be a clone?
I do believe in the example of Taylor Swift. There is a theory that Taylor Swift is a clone, and that ties back into the Church of Satan. You have Anton LaVey, he was the founder of Church of Satan, and his daughter, Zena LaVey, who is on record talking about how they use music to control people. And she has an uncanny resemblance to Taylor Swift. What are the odds? I think very slim.
Well, in the Epstein files, there's actually a lot of talk about clones and cloning. Like here, attached is the doc you requested. It's the use of funds spreadsheet for the designer, baby, and human cloning company. I assume they didn't show Zena LeVay's image on Dr. Phil because then people might be like, wow, her and Taylor Swift do look alike, and they don't want people asking questions and then looking into the symbolism and realizing cloning facilities might actually be real. Reality truly is stranger than fiction, and if you don't think this stuff is happening, I don't know what to tell you. But I don't know. I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Let me know what you think. You are not ready for what I found in the Epstein files. Remember when I went on Dr. Phil and
They're back in action. There's still a chance to stop them. I'm doing this my way. 30 seconds.
It's like
There's 2 minutes.
11. Them torch disturbing.
I do believe in the example of Taylor Swift. There is a theory that Taylor Swift is a clone.
Youthfulness. So apparently, Epstein emails expose disturbing parties for hunting black people. These motherfuckers, not only did they have to traffic children, rape them, beat them, murder them, torture them, drink their blood to maintain youthfulness, literally cause most of the bad things happening on Earth now. All these world events like 9/11 and so many other fucked up things, and poisoning our food. But now, according to the emails, they had hunting parties to kill black people. This is not a fucking conspiracy theorist, guys. Bro, I will show you the emails. Going to Mean Lana's party now to hunt, right? You're probably thinking, oh, they're probably just hunting animals. Wait for it. Guess what? They are... Yeah. So they were essentially hunting black people on Epstein's island, on top of raping kids, torturing kids, murdering kids, kidnapping children, and then he has the fucking audacity to say thanks, thrilling hunt. This was 2016, guys. 2016. This was not the night. This was 2016. 2016. The peak of SoundCloud era. Way more recent. Oh, it was 10 years ago. This was way more recent than you guys think it was, bro. They've been doing, this is not old news. And the thing is, they're still doing stuff like this to this day. And they have been doing stuff like this since biblical times, since colonization, since slavery, since the Industrial Revolution. What makes somebody, what is in somebody's bloodline to make you hate somebody so much because of the color of their skin? What did black people do to you guys? What did black people do to you guys? Please tell me. What did they do? Nothing. Nothing! You know what it is? It's deeper than jealousy. It's deeper than racism. It's deeper than hate or envy or hatred or anger. This is evil, guys. This is evil. This right here is evil. This is evil. It is, you cannot be human at that point. All these colonizers and slave owners and racist people and all these elite pedophile demons. They're demons. They're fucking demons. I don't even think they're human. I don't even think they're fucking human, bro. You're hunting black out of everybody. You didn't even hunt Latinos. Well, I don't know. I don't know anymore. But black people are the main ones. And people wonder all the time, why do I always speak about black people? For shit like this. They're the main ones. They're the main ones getting targeted by demons. The movie Get Out was not just a metaphor or a symbol for racism. They were literally, because remember, they put the truth in movies and the fake in real life. They were literally telling us what they do to black people on these islands, even like from slavery to now. They still do this shit on these rich ass islands, in these underground temples. I'm telling you, they still do this shit, bro. The colonizers and the demons are still here amongst us to this day. So apparently, Epstein
is Argentina's best burger.
I know it got super bright in here. Like, it's supposed to be a storm outside. Now it's a break in the storm. Now I look like I'm fucking in heaven or some shit. Like,
I have a weird playlist choice in here as well. Three big burgers. The burger has been acquired. Now let's give it a taste test. Time to put this big, black, juicy burger in my mouth. That is succulent. That is good. That is black.
You got a little on your chin.
Look at the juice oozing out of this.
First of all,
and then you know, like, I guess he's getting a kick out of this shit. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I see this man right here in person. Like, man, I got some Timberlands that'll fit your face like really, really good, man. I'm telling you, like, I'm just talking about stepping on a piece of shit with some Timberlands, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I'll fuck him up. I ain't gonna lie.
it seems like that man was fantasizing about putting something else in his mouth.
Yeah, he likes some. He always liked some black meat in his mouth, huh?
Saying big black juicy bag, big black and juicy. Like, are you fetishizing about having a big black in your esophagus? Because what is it giving? And why do they have a restaurant called Big N-Word in Argentina?
To win this one.
And why are they playing They Not Like Us? Like, you cannot make this up.
No.
What in the Twilight Zone is going on here? Like, what? And yet people will swear for God that we are lying and we are exaggerating and we are trying to censor ourselves and we think we the main character without reason. Yet in Argentina, we're influential. Yes, it's a slur. It's derogatory AF. And it should not be a thing. However, they're using it and they put the A on it because they're using it under the guise of it's our slang, basically. Trying to be cool, trying to cultural appropriate.
Get ready.
That's how I think they're using it. Like, you see, everybody all over the world wants to say the N-word. Like, some communities and cultures, when they say it, it's not to be derogatory toward us. It's to be a part of our culture because we use it as slang. Now, this is not me saying that it's okay and that they should be calling their burgers that, but then they have the nerve to have a black bun. Like, what? And the music, the playlist, you all see how stupid those guys look dancing to that? Everybody's obsessed with us. I don't care what anybody says. That's why everybody crashing out about us saying, you know, we're no longer flat blackers. Like, no, we're our own ethnic group. You can't sit at the table if you ain't bringing nothing. Damn sure can't sit at the table if you coming to try to just take some plates, take some to-go plates and go. Like, no, you have to add. You can't just continuously be a parasite. That's why they're crashing out. Because literally, look at this. All over the world, they're influenced by us. Even our, you know, the degenerate parts of our culture. People are obsessed. They're obsessed. It's kind of scary. What y'all think about this? Would y'all go eat here? Spread love is the Brooklyn way. Big N-word. How is that even allowed? All right.
I seen something really messed up in the Jeffrey Epstein files. They found a file talking about them cloning celebrities so that they can do things to the version of that celebrity that they wanted. Wait, what? Yeah, so they were investing billions into cloning and trying to clone celebrities, specifically Britney Spears at the time, so that they could do things to a version of that clone. In the files, it stated that this clone might be like years old today if the clone is still alive.
Holy
and
smokes.
it's pretty much like Britney Spears' clone.
Yeah.
I'm sure in their head they think like cloning it, okay, boom, expendable.
And where do the bodies go after? Do you see that too with the trapdoor into the ocean?
Literally in that one picture, it shows in the bottom floor, it goes straight to the depth of the ocean.
I mean, this world that we live in is sick, and I see why we're due for a reset. I see everything that's happening, and I mean, I do want to stump the dude out, man, for eating a burger, but that only lasts for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Regulate my emotions, and we staying out the way. We staying out the way. It's a reason why we're not out here marching with people and woo woo woo. We're sticking to ourselves for a reason. It's not because we hate people. We don't have the same genetics. We don't have that same whatever the fuck is making people want to do the things that they do lately.
Wait, so now that we know that vampires run this country, are we gonna...
had inherited from my father's bloodline the power of the god of war and iron. My guiding spirit heard my calls when I needed him the most.
You can't kill us all.
I can kill you.
Oh, crazy. I gotta catch up on that. But look at this shit.
Ellen, no need to address the changes in your physical appearance, Bookie, but
nope.
We already know what's going on with you. Ben knew what was going on with you. You've never, ever in life sat right with me personally, but that's just me personally. The people in the city of Townsville, I ask you, who the fuck is this? They talking about this Ellen. Who the fuck is that? Never seen her.
Ellen came out. She walking down them steps looking like Drop Dead Fred, right? Look at her. Damn.
For my life. That is Elliot. Ellis. Elroy. This just in. They are calling her the top animal with a capital C. Like I said, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised.
It's gone now.
Because for
The current score is
68 years,
0.
she's been looking 32.
Time to switch things up. Including which side
What's
you're
that
on.
about? Because she's not black, so...
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that? The devil. No, it's the devil. I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to argue with y'all. I don't. I really don't. 68 years old. Year after year after year, she not aging a smidge. And now you look at 95 pushing daisies? I don't think so, boo.
Oh, we know why.
Here are some brands that were found in the Epstein files. Lifetouch, the brand that takes 90% of our school pictures and also facilitates JCPenney photos. Yeah, they've basically been giving our pictures up so it could be a catalog for these predators to look through so they can see what kids they want.
Nah, that shit crazy. And that's crazy. That right there is mind blowing. And that makes too much damn sense.
2, Chuck E. Cheese, the CEO, and now they're going to have a new one starting on February 13th because he decided to step down after getting caught. Wayfair was mentioned just short of 400 times in the files. So yes, y'all were completely right, and it was not a conspiracy theory when everyone was saying that Walmart and Wayfair are listing shoes and furniture at $100,000 price tags with the names of real children that were missing. It was not a conspiracy. They were really doing that. Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, White Barn, and Pink. They're all owned by Les Wexner, and he is in the Epstein files. It's everyone.
Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable.
I have none of Another fearsome call.
That is called cannibalism, my dear children.
It's man if I will bring man what it and who always wins in
Still Jim. Score 1, 2, 0.
It's been in our face this entire time.
Check did not clear the bank, and so we sent the truck out to pick up the container.
I roll out there and took the box up and started pulling it up, and it was so heavy it broke the winch, and we couldn't get it off the trailer, so we had to leave it on the trailer because it was too heavy. So I was asked by Nick to have a crew go down and unload the container at the other yard.
I got a radio call from Ron Gillette, the foreman, They said the men were throwing up and there was something really wrong.
One of them fell down and hit me right in front of my feet. And it was opened up, and there it was. And when I came to work the following day, I saw it myself. I couldn't believe it. And it's just, just little bitty babies, just all torn pieces. Their heads chopped off, arms, legs, it's just, really it's just, it makes you want to cry when you see something like that.
Starting at the very front of this container, it was just wall clear to the ceiling and clear to the sides, filled with them.
I really don't want to witness it again. Not what I saw.
Well, as the supervisor for the county of Los Angeles, we found out through the media that 17,000 infants had been stored in a container.
Whatever happened with that? So you're telling me that they can't track these containers back from which they came? Because I'm pretty sure once the containers get the dock that they're supposed to get to, they get sorted out and get sent and loaded on to trucks and stuff like that to where they're supposed to go. So it's no excuse for them not knowing who the fuck did it. But we already know now that this is deeper than what it seems.
Accused of selling bodies and body parts. A trial set to begin in just months. And tonight, new grisly details of what the FBI...
Yeah, I remember this, huh? I had to roll this one back. I'm sorry if you've seen this before, but look, it just makes too much sense. Sometimes we got to revisit and line them up again. It makes more sense now. We're putting the puzzle pieces all together.
Says really happened.
ABC 15's Nicole Valdez is live. And Nicole, this paints a Frankenstein-like picture.
Yeah, it really does. Katie and Steve, closed for years. This building off 24th Street, the university, doesn't look like much, but according to new claims in these court documents, the Biological Resource Center was essentially running a chop shop for human body parts, mixing, matching, and selling them in ways we'd never heard of until tonight.
Described as unsettling, but it sounds a whole lot worse. One FBI agent revealing what it was really like inside the Phoenix body donation facility. In 2014, he saw everything from buckets of heads, arms, and legs to coolers filled with severed penises when the FBI raided the building.
Confused and angry. We thought this was going to be doing some good.
He even spotted a smaller head sewn onto a larger torso in a, quote, Frankenstein manner.
It wasn't a choice we made. It wasn't a choice any of the families made.
Body parts piled on top of each other inside Biological Resource Center, where families donated their loved ones for medical research.
Discoveries of sickness and disease, maybe come up with a cure.
Some say the company violated everything they promised.
Tragedy that's never resolved, and it just keeps going on and deeper.
The limbs, according to that agent, with no apparent identification. The company sued months after the FBI raided, families claiming their loved ones weren't treated with dignity and respect, a promise written on their own consent forms. The company also accused of selling body parts for profit after saying they'd only use the parts they needed and would cremate the ones they didn't and return them. A torso with a head apparently went for $2,400. A leg about $1,100. They'd even sell knees and feet alone for under $500.
Now the owner of the bio...
No, I wonder what the hell they were selling those for. They're probably living with somebody right now, cooking something in the kitchen. Mystery meat.
Now might be a good time to stop them.
Just saying. Just saying.
Hold on, guys. The Epstein files are getting way too much attention. Cue the psyop.
It's been 2 weeks since...
Wait, no, not that one. It's not working. Plan B, aliens.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
You mean that they moved it, and you know about them moving it, so you can say that it's not there.
So that was President Barack Obama a few days ago, and today rumors are swirling that Trump is going to make a speech about aliens. Watch this.
Around that, I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law's actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life, so to speak.
If there's anything we've learned from the files, it's that they're all in on it. People on the left and the right. So it makes sense that these elites would be working together to make sure they're distracting you from it. Allegedly. But don't listen to me. I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
Jeffrey Epstein is alive, and apparently he's in Colorado. I'm in Colorado. What the hell? So I exposed Epstein being alive in Colorado. Now my name is being searched in Israel over 100 times. So I posted the video saying that I saw a file where people were talking about Epstein is in Colorado. He's 2 hours behind us. Go watch that video. So that was in the morning. I posted that maybe at like before 8 a.m. or something. And then by 12 p.m. in Israel past 7 days, you see how February 9 there's no searches, February 12 there's no searches, 15 there's no searches, but then on February 16 at 12 p.m. my name was searched over 100 times, and that's my full name, my first name and my last name, and I have a very unique first and last name. There's no other person, I don't think, even alive with my first and last name. So are they about to take me out, guys, or what's going on? Please help me.
They looked me up too, bro. They looked me up, and it said over 100 times as well.
What messed up thing did I find in the library today? For reference, this file is going to be EFTA 000800475. If you don't know where to go, like, this is it. This is it. Just giggly wiggly. Blankety blank 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 and her husband blank blank are leaders of a prostitution, child molesting, and schmeck trafficking syndicate known as the Ashley Madison Network. Do you guys remember Ashley Madison? Large majority of the funding for said network is held in the accounts of capital investors and property they have acquired. Much of the property is used to house people with radio transmitters. These transmitters send off a signal of RF audio and video that are used to make people receive the signal in a way that interferes with their central nervous system. These transmitter people use extensive conditioning techniques to make people experience tactile, auditory, and visual hallucinations. It is used extensively to molest children. These transmitters are often readily visible from the street as satellite dishes. Between the radio signal that is recorded of a person near a transceiver and the conditioning, people who hear the transmission begin to experience sensations similar to the person who made the recording. This ham radio techniques make it seem as though people are hearing voices and feeling these other hallucinations that often resemble sexual interactions with other people. This technology is what is used to communicate to and harass Jeffrey Epstein while in prison. Driving people to commit suicide is a common practice with these transmitters. They also frequently attempt to replicate break-ins and home invasions. For some reason, people who have them meddle in the lives of others and attempt to cause as much harm as possible. I'm gonna stop there because this could go on forever, but like, you can look it up and read it yourself. And that's crazy? Is this not saying that 5G can like fuck with your brain and make you do shit? Is this not like insinuating that 5G can like make people exhibit certain behaviors. Is that what this is saying? Because I would like this to be studied. I would like shit like this to be studied. Like, I want the transmitters at these schools where all these teachers are getting their taco diddly whittled by the children. I want to know what kind of 5G they got going on at these schools where this is happening every time I log into my FaceBizzle. In the files. Do you remember Ashley Madison? With that, like, secret Machiti app where you could, like, cheat on your spouse in secret? That's Ashley Madison. What is going on?
Oh boy, it's bright as hell in this room right now. See, it was supposed to be a lot of like dark clouds back here right now, but it done blew everything up, didn't it? It done blew my goddamn room up, y'all. Look, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point. You feel me? Like, I'm rocking this video out. I'm not re-recording it. This is a reaction-based content, and it's not gonna get done over. Kind of mad about this shit, but I've been trying to hold it together this whole damn video. I just got to keep it a whole beam with y'all. But look, that's what we're gonna pick up at in the next episode. This right here was a hell of a drop. Smash that like button. Send these videos to your friends and your families. Like I said, we're on our way to 1 million. I do appreciate y'all for having your notifications on and
I shall go down fighting.
Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and boy, I've got some wild stuff to talk about. The government has made a VPN, expecting you to trust the government, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, obviously I've talked a lot about your privacy, your safety on the internet. I consider it to be pretty important. So I'm going to warn you before you think of looking at something like freedom.gov and thinking, whoa, we get to finally access a free and open internet. Now, of course, this website popped up a couple days ago. Information is power. Reclaim your human right to free expression. Get ready. And I guess you got some fella riding a horse. I mean, the website seems to be fine. It seems like a nice little effect going on. But what is the freedom in this case, ladies and gentlemen? What is freedom.gov? Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, for the United States government, when you look at over half the country and pending the remaining parts of the country, say for a few states, entering into age verification laws that basically are restricting people's access to the internet, unless, of course, they whip out their wallet, take out their ID, and go, here, papers, please. So no, ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely something to be a little bit concerned about. Now, to give an idea, I decided to look a little bit deeper into this, and when this whole thing broke out, when I went to freedom.gov, basically they were going out, Sly Eagle, fly. But when you do a who is search on them, basically it comes out that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is actually the pals behind it. So what is freedom.gov? Well, apparently it seems that freedom.gov is a place for you to access the internet in a free and open manner, as the name obviously means. So, for instance, people who are close basically say that in countries like Europe, for instance, it allows the users over there to access content that is restricted under local law. So material that's labeled hate speech or propaganda, and basically they're developing freedom.gov as a State Department tool that allows the rest of the world to connect through a portal and access the free and open internet. Now, I think it's kind of wild we've gotten to a point where countries are brazenly saying, listen, we know your country is blocking access to your free speech, so just route your traffic through us, and, it's all going to be good, ladies and gentlemen. You'll get to see the internet as it actually is. It's kind of like, the Matrix, they're giving you the fucking, the red pill? Now, of course, I have a lot of concerns, as you can rightfully imagine, when a government entity offers access through itself, I imagine as a VPN service that they're giving probably for free, considering it's U.S. government owned, and I'm sure they have the money to support basically the entire world connecting through it. I am a little bit hesitant on how much, I mean, this is basically like, you know, giving up your information to the government themselves. You know, a lot of people are like, I don't want Big Brother spying on me. Brother, Big Brother is literally going to be looking at every single data packet you send. If you choose to go through a VPN service. A lot of people need to understand that VPNs are basically giving almost blind trust to the entity that you're working with to traffic your internet data from like point to point. Anyways, though, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to look into it. Basically, the sources that are familiar basically say it's combating what the U.S. officials describe as government censorship of certain online content. Now, of course, based on the people that are involved in this entire story, I imagine the way that this functions is probably like a VPN. So they're probably going to release like an application, you download it, you route yourself through a server in the United States, and then you get access to the free and open internet. Now, in one, mention over here, the U.S. government actually isn't wrong. In places like Europe, actually a lot of parts of the world, there are laws that control what you can and cannot access on the internet. Just from a Canadian perspective, if you try going onto like Facebook to read your news, I believe that you can't even read news on Facebook because Canadian laws make it so that accessing news sites, from what I understand, through like social media services is just not a thing anymore. And I guess the argument is to like protect the economic interests of the local people. I don't understand. I haven't looked terribly deep into it. I've just seen that laws do affect what you and I cannot access on the internet. So, of course, obviously, the law kind of talks a little bit about, the European side of things, where people do, unfortunately, get arrested in the countries, in European nations, for what they post. For instance, again, when it comes to the UK, there are actual politicians that will use the legal system, according to these reports, to punish individuals that post things like satirical memes, for instance. But there are a lot of cases where thousands of people do get brought under and arrested for this. Unfortunately, obviously, while these arrests are bad, there is a silver lining in that, when it comes to these arrests, there's actually very little, prison or actual sentencing in comparison to the amount of arrests. Now, obviously, I don't think you should be arrested for whatever the fuck you post online. Obviously, if you're posting, like, violent rhetoric, like, you're actually promoting violence, like, hey, guys, let's go down tomorrow onto so-and-so street and, like, bomb these people. That is not just free speech. That is a crime. Even if you live in the freest country in the world, that would be considered a crime, and you would most definitely and rightfully get arrested for that. Simple as is. But if you're posting something that, is speech that I may not agree with, but it doesn't harm anybody, it doesn't incite violence, that is your right to promote that speech. So in some ways, the U.S. government's kind of right. There needs to be a little freedom.gov around the world. I just think you should be not trusting the United States to be delivering that freedom.gov. I think it's insane that there is a government-backed, I guess, VPN project, and it's not confirmed to be a VPN project 100%, but it's probably what it's most likely going to be, that exists to circumvent another sovereign nation's internet laws. This is the problem with the internet blocks, man. They just don't work. Okay, there's like a million fucking ways to circumvent it. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be making this video to just talk about this and roast it. In reality, there are other ways that you can bypass this crap too. For instance, Mullvad VPN is what I've basically been talking about for months now. And the ability for you to buy it actually anonymously through things like cryptocurrency or just sending over actual physical cash to them for literally €5 a month allows you to have access to one of the best VPN services in the world. A VPN service that has been rated by federal authorities and no information has been given up is probably the best advertising anybody can get. You can literally pay for this without even giving them any form of identification. It's that privacy focused. And again, even if you're not somebody that's super duper privacy focused, there are still VPNs that you can purchase that have actual privacy safeguards where, they're using things like RAM-based servers. So even if they do get raided by the feds, nothing's gonna fucking come out of it because RAM typically will clear itself, and the only thing they'll probably get access to is like what Linux distribution they use under the hood to host a specific server. You know, there are situations, even in the US, where there are VPN bans that I talked about that thankfully, for now, have been sort of reversed, like in places like Wisconsin. Now, just because they're reversed doesn't mean they're not going to reintroduce this shit down the road. But of course, there are ultimately free options too. If you have the Brave browser like I do, you can click the three little, settings panes at the top right. You can go all the way to new private window with Tor, and you can access the Tor browser. Hell, you can just go to the torproject.org, download the Tor browser for Windows, Mac, Linux, even Android, and there's definitely some unofficial versions for iOS, and you can just use the Tor browser. It's probably the best browser when it comes to maintaining you against tracking, surveillance, censorship, yada yada. I would know, I talked about this for years. I've browsed near every single aspect of the dark web. There are videos on my channel browsing the dark web that serve as historical archives for that side of the internet. Websites that are no longer available anymore, okay? It truly is the Tartarus, the Persona 3 dungeon of the internet. Shit just keeps changing all the time. You would love using Tor if it meant your privacy, okay? It's so many ways that you can achieve privacy without giving up your data to Uncle Sam. That shit makes no sense whatsoever. So no, freedom.gov, kind of a dumb thing to go down. But of course, obviously, there are a lot of situations that come out with freedom.gov that have me kind of wondering what the true intentions of this shit really is. So for anybody that doesn't know, there have been actual cases where the US government has actually financed the projects like Tor, for instance, right? But recently, they've actually taken away or attempted to take away some of that funding too. So for instance, in the US, there used to be this there is the Open Technology Fund, and they filed a lawsuit in Washington, D.C. against a US agency because literally their money was supposed to be taken away from like Let's Encrypt and things like Tor. Now, obviously, this was backed away, and the government really just pushed back on this. So, thankfully, the money is still being given to protect this, but it makes me wonder, right? Like, if the government is so willing to start focusing on actual privacy solutions that protect you from its surveillance, what the fuck is the point of freedom.gov at the end of the day? Are they just going to be using it to spy on you? Probably. That's probably going to be the most likely option. And one of the things that I kind of want to end this off on is a research paper done by a set of security researchers that I really think deserve a lot of attention right now. So for instance, this is VM Funk. So this is an individual that wrote a research paper, February 16th, by the way, exposing Persona even further. Now, to give you an idea, Persona, we've been talking about it with Discord, it's the age verification shit that they've been pushing on. Now, they had a brief connection to Persona, their experiment ended, but obviously, these people started off by saying, first off, there are no laws that are broken. Everything that they did was passive reconnaissance, so they were actually doing no intrusion, no anything. So to give you an idea, how did they actually find out something was crazy here? What was crazy is Persona apparently is connected with mass surveillance. So there's actually a lot of stuff they found inside the Persona backend. Now, I've showed you Shodan before on things like virus investigations. Basically, it's a search engine for things that are connected to the internet. So servers, IoT stuff, yada, yada, yada. Not your typical website, so to speak. Now, what they did was they decided to go down and they decided to find... So the way that this ended up starting out was when they were investigating the Persona stuff, they found one little interesting tidbit, which was this IP address, 34.49.93.177. And in this IP address, they found something called Watchlist DB. Now, obviously, that's a really spooky name to have. What do you mean by watchlist? So, of course, the researchers here decided, you know what, maybe we found something. They decided to dig in a little bit deeper and decided to look at where these connections ended up going to, and eventually they found something known as withpersonagov.com. So, of course, ultimately they ended up coming at this login page, which was a US government system, and of course you can see personas attached to this, yada, yada, yada. And ultimately they went even deeper. So as they were going deeper, literally 12 days before they had actually posted this, they found something called onyxwithpersona-gov.com. By the way, this cat is following my mouse around. This is a very cute, very amazing website. I just wanted to give it a little bit of a shout out there. Brilliant web design. But anyways, going down over here, you can see that obviously when they were connecting in with Onyx, they had talked that this actually matched name-wise to an AI-powered surveillance platform that ICE bought for $4.2 million. Now remember, I talked a little bit about ICE, and I said it in my last video when I was talking about Peter Thiel, that look, when it comes to, you know, a disaster, when it comes to I guess you could say a highly politicized disaster, so to speak, which the government calls like illegal immigration, right? Like this is a huge issue for them. And they've given a lot of money to ICE to surveil people, to deport, to do all of their stuff. Now, here's the thing. They can say one thing and they can say, listen, we're going to build things like Immigration OS, we're going to build mass surveillance tools, but it's only for deporting people. Do you honestly believe they're going to spend millions of dollars to create this infrastructure and then not use it against people that they don't agree with? That is something that I always ask you to consider, right? Always look at the bigger picture. Don't get caught up in all the hype and bullshit. Always fact check, always look at the real picture of the situation. And again, always verify. You can read this stuff for yourself. I show it on my channel to show you how to follow the breadcrumb trail for yourself. Anyways, to go down over here, this was a tool that they linked to this, you know, ICE malware or ICE, you know, surveillance tool that they had purchased, allegedly. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, they had basically scraped a whole bunch of, you know, code from this actual, like, system. Not from, like, this. They actually, like, scraped a bunch of this code, JavaScript code, VT code that existed, and they found all of this stuff to look through. Now, ultimately, at the end of all this, they found a whole bunch of interesting things that were actually happening with this Persona tool that goes far beyond just age verification. So for instance, when it comes to your face lists, they were grabbing things like government ID numbers, IP addresses, names, phone numbers, email, geolocation, browser fingerprints, face, country, all this information was grabbed. And what it seems like is that they were actually stored for about 3 years. So while some companies say, oh, we're only going to store for a week or maybe a year, it seems, according to this code, allegedly, they were storing for a maximum of 3 years, which goes far beyond verification. It ends up literally in surveillance territory. So of course, obviously, when it comes to OpenAI was involved, and I believe they were really in here sort of like a side tool for, you know, just like a little AI chatbot they had on the side. They really weren't involved in the surveillance aspect of it, at least from the evidence that these guys found. But to go down further into it, I think what is actually probably the most insane looking thing is the politically exposed person and their comparison. So for instance, if you look at some of the actual parts of this interface, politically exposed person's image, where it would actually take your image and an image from the database, and it would actually compare its similarity levels. So there are a lot of things to wonder. There are 269 verification checks across various different types. So for a lot of people looking into it, it seemed like it was initially, and for most of the evidence provided, it seems like it meant more for financial fraud, right? Like just verifying that, which is pretty common, right? You have FinCEN in the US, FinTrack in Canada, and every other agency around the world. But listen, it's crazy to think for a fucking second that when you have shit like this, right? When you have stuff like government surveillance to think about, you know, Persona, which basically, you know, when we look at things like PRISM, for instance, right? Like PRISM was a huge thing that happened back in 2008. Edward Snowden leaked it. You know, it was something that started during the Bush era, and then it expanded in scope during the Obama era. So it doesn't matter which side you vote for. They're all against your rights for privacy. That's just a matter of fact. But the interesting thing about what happened over here was it now is at least credibly somewhat like, you can credibly like assume, very credibly, that it, you know, Persona, you know, the photo that you would take for age verification or identity verification, well, that probably is being stored somewhere and has ran multiple checks, not just once, but several times over the course of at least 3 years, it seems, at maximum, and those could be used against you. So again, there's a lot to consider over here. Look, I know this is a very, very loaded video, but freedom.gov is one of those things that when I spot a government, and it doesn't have to be the US government, okay? It could be the fucking Canadian government, it could be the UK government, it could be the fucking, it could be any government hosting a VPN. You should never connect through it, okay? Especially when there literally are so many other options. Like, bro, just use Tor. Just use Mullvat. Just use literally anything, bro. Use carrier pigeons at this point. Fucking... if you legally can, again, there's a lot of regulations, ham radio at this point would be a far better alternative than relying on a VPN the government makes, especially when they say it's there for your freedom. Bro, you know they're just going to sit there and tap your data. We live in this insane world right now where the future of the internet a year from now, I want to say honestly less than a year, probably before GTA 6 drops, is going to be very substantially different. And I think it's good to see backlash, but I really hope that there's a lot of reversals. I think the best thing that can come out of this is people start mostly self-hosting. One of the things that I'm doing today after I edit and post this video online is I'm putting together my own self-hosted Discord-like server. I already bought a VPS. I'm already just putting it together. I'm testing it out, and if all the kinks are kind of ironed out, hopefully by next week, I can probably show you how you can start self-hosting your stuff. Because I think we should just be done with these big companies enforcing this bullshit on us, okay? If any company, if Discord tomorrow, like March, decided to tell me that I have to provide them my ID, I'm going to stop using Discord. I'm going to just go to my own server, okay? Because at least there, I'm not gonna ask people for their fucking IDs or age verify. I'm just gonna make sure everyone is over the age of 18. Or honestly, I'm probably just gonna keep it mostly for people that I know, which is how I usually treat Discord anyways. But it's a wild world we live in, man. Be careful on the internet, bro. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. Am out.
Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. Some points made in this video are opinions and theories. I am not responsible for third-party information.
Trapmore gang, while everybody has been distracted by Prince Andrew being arrested, nobody has cared to take a look at some of the more crazy stuff that's been coming out in these Epstein files. There's millions of files. People have been digging and digging and digging. And one of the craziest things that I've seen recently that has blown my mind is that they're now saying that there might have been a file that accidentally revealed Virginia Giuffre's true cause of death. This is very bizarre because I spoke to you previous about Virginia Giuffre. Okay, she is basically the girl that accused Prince Andrew of being with her after she was trafficked by Epstein. She made all kinds of allegations. She's been absolutely dragged through the mud for years, and she ended up dying under very suspicious circumstances. I spoke in a previous video about how she claimed that she had been in a very unusual car crash and she didn't have long to live. She only had a few days to live. She was apparently hit by a school bus, and there was no real reports of this accident going around. It was very, very suspicious, and she said she had a few days to live. Then she lived for a few weeks, and then she suspiciously checked out like that, and they were saying that it was actually she had taken her own way out. But now some of the little details that are coming out are very suspicious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a Reddit post that is talking about a new document in the files that's come out that they're saying has accidentally revealed her true cause of death. And I'm going to give you an update on what the official story was, and you're going to see maybe there are a few things that don't quite add up. This actually is insane, okay? So this was going around r/Epstein, okay? Virginia Giuffre's cause of death accidentally revealed in the Epstein files. So this is a link to an article that's been reproduced in full below here. But essentially it's saying she died at the age of 41 and that shock and heartbreak followed the tragic death of Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers. It says at the time of her death, reports stated Virginia Giuffre died by ending things herself at her Neergaby home in Western Australia, April 25th, 2025, at the age of 41. Authorities said an investigation is ongoing, but early indications show that the death is not suspicious. I'm sorry, but not a single death connected to Jeffrey Epstein in this conspiracy that to traffic humans internationally. They're all suspicious. I'm sorry, they're all suspicious and they should be treated as such. Her father publicly rejected the idea she took her own way out, telling Piers Morgan for them to say that she committed the S word. There is no way that she did, and she claimed instead that somebody got to her. Jeffrey's Australian lawyer, Carrie Loudon, said that she does not believe the death was suspicious, adding the coroner will determine in due course the cause of death, and that will be established based on the evidence. At this time, the BBC noted that there is still much that's not known about Miss Guthrie's last days or her personal circumstances. Guthrie was an Australian-American advocate for survivors of trafficking and became one of the most high-profile accusers of Jeffrey Epstein, and now it appears her cause of death may have been confirmed in documents released by the Epstein files. Documents from the massive Epstein files release revealed that the 41-year-old Virginia Giuffre died by her own doing at her Neergaby house about an hour north of Perth on April 2025. The files, part of the Department of Justice's final release of 3.5 million records from the Epstein investigation, accidentally included private emails that were briefly made public before being redacted, according to Daily Mail. Among these were deeply personal messages from fellow Epstein survivor Maria Farmer, offering a heartbreaking glimpse into Giuffre's emotional state in the months leading to her death. In an email dated May the 8th, 2025, Farmer allegedly wrote, "She died from a wound last week at her home in Australia." That information was not public. And I'm sorry, when you start talking about gunshot wounds, I start having some suspicions, to be honest. Too many people have checked out in suspicious ways in this story, okay, in this whole conspiracy. The email was reportedly sent to several of Giuffre's attorneys, including David Boies, Sigrid McCauley, who had represented her in the long-running legal battle stemming from the Epstein scandal. Farmer, one of Epstein's earliest known victims, has long claimed that she tried to alert authorities to Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes in the 1990s. Maria Farmer, her email with the subject line, "Abusing public victims has real consequences," reflected the deep grief and frustration felt by those closest to Giuffre. "I have no idea how to survive now. She was our leader, our purpose. This is agonizing for her children, especially her little girl. No one should ask so much of public victims. My raison d'etre was Virginia. I'm an old woman without children. I wanted to have a child like V, brave and strong. She was pure light." I know people do check out by their own hands when they do have children. It's nothing that doesn't happen, but I truly don't believe that Virginia Giuffre wanted to go out that way. I just can't believe it. It says, Farmer criticized law enforcement, writing, "The FBI needs to feel deep shame and cough up my reports. They need to apologize, though now nothing matters. I reported to FBI 10 years prior to this hero being..." This is the most devastating sorrow, and now nothing will ever be okay again. Nothing will be okay without Virginia here loving her children and animals. I will never be okay. The FBI really damaged society when they refused to listen to the fact that children were... The documents also highlight the personal struggles that Giuffre faced in her final months. In January 2025, police were called to a domestic dispute at a separate location in Dunsborough, where she and her husband, Robert Giuffre, were holidaying with their children. While no charges were laid, Robert obtained a restraining order preventing Virginia from seeing her children for 6 months. Virginia publicly described the impact on Instagram. She said, "I've been through hell and back in my 41 years, but this is incredibly hurting me worse than anything else." Shortly before her death, her lawyer and close friend Carrie Loudon spoke to the press outside Giuffre's farmhouse, expressing shock and sorrow. This has been a complete shock to all of us. If any of us has thought she was going to commit the S word, of course we would have taken more steps, but put her in a clinic or get her some more help. When I got the phone call, I was like, "Are you joking?" Because there was no signs that that's something she was considering. Loudon emphasized she would not speculate on the exact circumstances, saying it's inconclusive. "I'm a defense lawyer and I don't like to speculate about things until the evidence is in, and the evidence is not in. The police told me nothing. They didn't even confirm she was dead. It wasn't suspicious circumstances. It's S-word or misadventure. I didn't see her in the room. I wasn't there, and I'm not going to speculate whether it was the S-word or accidental. You all be aware that she's been in hospital. She's been on medications. Has she taken too many painkillers? Was she intentionally doing it? I just, I don't even know what the cause of death was." Giuffre's body was laid to rest at her Neergaby home, part of her multi-million-dollar estate. While the official cause of her death has never been publicly confirmed, the documents and private emails offer a window into the immense personal toll that the Epstein saga took on one of its bravest voices. Her death, coupled with the accidental release of confidential correspondence, has now cast a stark new light on the immense pressures faced by survivors of SA and the long fight for justice in one of the most infamous scandals of the 21st century. The FBI has disputed several of Giuffre's claims, including her allegation that Epstein to other powerful men, which other victims did not corroborate. An FBI memo noted that Giuffre provided shifting accounts that were sensationalized, if not demonstrably inaccurate characterizations of her experiences. Now, before I get into the comments, right, the FBI disputed her claims, including her allegation that Epstein to other powerful men, which other victims didn't corroborate. Well, if that's true, How come she got a £12 million settlement from Prince Andrew? What? He just paid her 12 million to go away because what? Nothing happened. How did she end up meeting Prince Andrew? How? We know how. Jeffrey Epstein. All right. So this suggestion, they keep doing this. They keep gaslighting. Her allegation that Epstein and other powerful men with victims did not corroborate. Why is she getting £12 million from Prince Andrew? Disgraced Prince Andrew who got arrested today. How's that happening? The gaslighting is on an industrial scale in this trial, okay? And I believe Virginia Giuffre's account. I believe her. I believe what she said, okay? Maybe she was unwell. Maybe she was struggling with her mental health. She's not a perfect person. But I believe it because people don't hand out £12 million for nothing, right? You don't end up rolling around with Prince Andrew. You didn't slip and fall into his lap. It was because of Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking, okay? Allegedly, in my opinion. And so this is now going around, all right? This is now going around. And basically, it's being said that actually it was the Queen of England, who's now dead, all right? Prince Philip and the Queen, who actually fronted up the £12 million for Prince Andrew to pay her. And you want to say no trafficking. You want to say it never happened. Epstein didn't traffic her to anyone. Prince Andrew just felt like handing out £12 million. Are you joking?
You know, this is a very, very serious crisis. The worst serious crisis the worst crisis that has hit the monarchy in living memory in the democratic era. And, you know, we have an institution that is already losing support quite rapidly. We have an institution that most people under the age of 50 are not that bothered about. And now they are exposed to quite serious accusations. It's not just Andrew. There are serious questions being asked. As we heard, you know, hecklers asking them. BBC journalists not so much, but hecklers are asking these serious questions about what did William and Charles know, when did they know it, and you know, it's not serious to suggest that Andrew, if these allegations are true, has been behaving like this over the last 25-30 years and no one else knew. You know, so there are much more serious questions which are not going to go away about how far the rock goes in the monarchy.
So there's been reports that the Queen actually stumped up, all right, contributed to the settlement of £12 million. But anyway, let's move away from that. Okay, let's go back to Virginia Giuffre, the brave woman who you really mean to tell me she just shot herself after all of that? All right, it's crazy. So people are saying, how could David Boies represent Epstein victims? It's beyond me. He certainly appeared like he was working both sides. He represented Harvey Weinstein, who was good friends with Epstein. Even Epstein asked Eid Barak if Boies had hired former Mossad agents to do dirty investigations on victims. Boies was in direct communication with Epstein, both by email and in person. And in 2013, he was asking Boies and his wife to have an intimate dinner at his home, along with Woody Allen. I found that stunning as well. It's right up there with Alex Acosta not notifying victims about the deal was cut. So suspect, all right? And it says it's written in here. The lawyers of the victims were part of the perpetrators. Oh, God, here we go. Let's have a look. Redacted. Oh, redact everything. Crazy, all right? It is actually crazy. Okay, this is quite a long document, so I don't know if I can actually find what's relevant here. Okay, but... all right, this is like 100 pages, 60 pages. Okay, well, we'll look at that another day. But basically, okay, check who died 25, April 25, Niggerby. Yeah, we know that's how she died. So other people are saying I'd be extremely suspicious about a gun wound being... I mean, living in Australia, guns are very hard to get. By gun is very uncommon among women compared to men. Indeed, generally, Australian gun owners are very passionate shooters and hunters because the licensing process takes a while, and one needs to demonstrate regular association with hunting, competition, pest control, and occupation. Think farmers. I'll be curious if there's any record of this for Virginia. I suppose theoretically she could have stolen the gun from somewhere else. Still, there's plenty of other ways to commit that wouldn't require jumping through hoops. As you say, females using that guns for these types of attempts does happen, but it's not common. It says that she lived in a coastal mansion not far from where I live. They did not grow up here. They moved in 2020 to 2021. I assume she had that rural property for only 2-3 years max, probably less. She went up to that property to have some space, presumably for her mental health. Rural property owners are the most likely people to own rifles over here. Rural properties don't come with guns included, and one would need to be an enthusiast to even own a gun on the coast. Extremely suspicious this woman owned a gun unless she had it for her own protection, in which case the gun should match an existing license in her name. Would have not surprised me as it's not exactly unheard of, but a city girl living in a mansion off on the coast of Perth, driving out to a rural property raises all the red flags, especially if it was a handgun. They're much rarer. Now, apparently she did have a gun. Okay. She actually was allowed to have a gun, but they're saying it rings a sus. Let's see what these things say. Interesting. It says dramatic secret details of violent fight between Virginia Giuffre and her husband are revealed in the Epstein files. It says unsealed courts reveal DV allegations, documents released in the Epstein files. U.S. cops found Virginia covered in bruises and guns. Cops were called to the home of Virginia Giuffre and her husband over allegations, unsealed documents reveal. And these documents were part of a civil case between Virginia and Jeffrey Epstein's assistant, Ghislaine Maxwell, and were revealed in the December tranche of the Epstein files. Now, this was before she moved to Australia, right? According to police report lodged by the Fremont County Sheriff's Office in their former hometown of Colorado, Virginia accused her husband, Robert Giuffre, of striking their husky bear in March 2015. When she tried to pull him off the dog, she told police he repeatedly hit her face with a closed fist. Well, that's so sad that she was subjected to that, wasn't it? It said that she had bruises on her face, blood on her jumper, and red marks near her collarbone, and she didn't want to tell them how she sustained her injury. She moved slowly and deliberately. Her demeanor was quiet and distant, she wrote. I asked Virginia to tell me how she got the bruise. Virginia was very quiet and said she'd rather not stay, and Robert was arrested and taken to the police station. She then told officers her husband multiple times in the side of the face and head, and he choked her. She said a whitish or clear fluid mixed with the blood started seeping from her ear, and that Robert had grabbed a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, cocked it, and Virginia stated that Robert tried to get her to pull several times. She told police that she feared for her safety and retribution upon her husband's release. Police seized a gun, ammunition, and knife from the home. That is crazy, but that doesn't indicate to me that that's something that she wanted to do. That is actually very, very strange. Robert appeared in court weeks later in February over one count of failing to store his ammunition in a locked cabinet in their farmhouse in Neergaby in South. So they did have a gun. They did have a gun in the property. That's interesting. Okay. He was charged with the 2015 incident. The couple married 10 days after meeting in Thailand in 2002, moved to the US before eventually relocating in Australia. They had 3 children before their marriage fell apart. Last January, police were called to an incident in Dunsborough, 250 kilometers south of Perth, where Virginia and Robert were vacationing with their 3 children. They accused each other of violence and no charges were laid, but Robert took out a restraining order against Virginia, stopping her from seeing her children. Robert appeared in court weeks later for failing to store his ammunition in a locked cabinet at their farmhouse. So I guess there was a gun in the farmhouse. Cops found 2 boxes of Winchester pellets, 2 boxes of 12-gauge shotgun shells, 25 Olympic Blue 12-gauge shotgun shells, a box of Fiocchi 12-gauge shotgun shells. They also found 8 boxes of 25 12-gauge shotgun shells, 400 long rifle CCI, and 22 bullets. He was fined $500 and forced to pay the court costs of $300.50.
How are you doing?
So in April, she took herself out at the farm. Now, it's interesting, right? Because back then there was no mention, no explanation of how she decided to end things, allegedly. And we're hearing about all of these kind of, back and forths and things like that. But I don't think that's super helpful, right? So it rings sus to me. I'm a farmer in Australia, and honestly, getting a gun license is such a pain. I don't bother, even though I could have had one on a few occasions. Interesting. They're talking about the Bondi Beach incident. On the 12th of, November? Or 12th of October, she tweeted out, I'm making it known publicly that in no way, shape or form am I the S word. I've made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me for my sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. But she did actually die 6 years after that. People are saying a lot changed in those 6 years. She lost access to her kids, suffering from abuse from her husband shortly before she passed. People saying, someone paid a visit to her house, threatened her or her children outside her home on video, put something in her hand and said, you have 2 choices. Hoping that's not the case, but this world has proven darker things before. And we have some who celebrate capitalism above everything else. I had naively hoped things were actually still getting better when voting for Clinton and Kamala. Still hoping, still voting, but we will see. So it's an interesting theory. People saying they absolutely do not believe that she passed through her own accounts. Read the account from the bus driver who hit her. He said it was a tiny fender bender, and whoever was driving Virginia didn't even want to get the cops involved. It's very sketchy. Something doesn't add up. Right, she stayed in the most obscure places ever, extremely remote. All right. People saying, I don't believe this till I see the actual file and the link attached to it. They're saying the article was aided by AI. It's messy and non-linear. I'd like to see it too. All right. Interesting. It says, random info. I live in the northern suburbs of Perth. After her death, Robert was posting in local Facebook groups as her dogs were missing. I'm unsure if they were ever found. People saying this is a red flag. It says someone came to kill her and therefore also had to get rid of her dogs. It's suspicious at the very least. If anything, it all went missing at the time of her death. It would suggest foul play. This is only speculation, but if she was murdered, the dogs would have been in the way. They could have been let out, but probably would have been found. If they were killed or poisoned, they'd have to be disposed of to make it look like a self. To the back of the head, CIA's oldest trick. It's crazy. All right. It is actually crazy. I had a family friend whose death was ruled as an S. I'd like to know how a woman leaving an abusive husband without access to the key for the gun safe could in the head twice in the master bedroom while she was supposed to be in a separate bedroom ready to move out the following day. People saying she had 2 wounds to her head. People saying, yeah. How is that possible? She says she complained too much. Here it is on paper. This is it. This is the answer. Cash and Don Boy. Holy redactions, Batman. What the F? The person who wrote all those emails is clearly a bit mentally unwell, but they're also clearly an Epstein victim, and there's a ton of context clues in those emails that could help identify more perpetrators. Someone should go through those emails with a 5-tooth comb and dig into them. Was it this one? Wait, we already saw this. This one. No, wait. Okay, so I've just dug in and learned a little bit more context about that document. Okay, it says these actually reference Virginia's death in one of the emails, so they weren't actually written by her. From what I understand, it's another victim. So all of this very long document is another victim, and it's emails back and forth of another victim, basically. And in these emails, it seems that another victim is basically discussing correspondence with Virginia Giuffre and basically explaining that they don't believe that her death was something she was responsible for herself. It says, please see attached just some correspondence between myself and blank. It involves blank, a book deal between blank and blank, husband, blank. Can someone please ask why blank wanted this secret? Huge redaction, right? And says, of course it was a S word, guys. What a load of... That girl was murdered, all right? And I believe that that is actually referring to Virginia Giuffre. So it's another victim basically saying that they believe that the girl was murdered, that she was murdered. And then there's more where they basically explain. It says, never ever, you are more than welcome to lock me up. Go on, arrest me, because nothing will ever even come close to what they've put me, my family, and the other victims and their children through. Just to ask blank, children who now have no mother. I believe, I would reckon that that's talking about Virginia Giuffre. Just to ask blank, children who now have no mother. That was not an S word. Fact. So carry on working with blank. I want the attorneys to feel exactly the way... I want the attorneys' children to feel exactly what the attorneys have put us through. Fair game, no. Please phone blank about blank. Or is all of a sudden every girl that ran and facilitated an Epstein ring that still continues today a victim? In that case, I think it's grossly unfair that Maxwell's in prison and the likes of blank, Leslie Groff, blank, 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 all receive millions and millions of dollars and walk around in the world like nothing ever happened. You're a blank, you're a liar. And again, you and the other attorneys have profited hundreds of millions of dollars off our word and for decades. How many men have you in your legal wisdom held accountable? You know exactly who they are, and you have all the victims' evidence and flight logs. They all logged into your legal contacts that they had to sign. Now tell me what blank blank is doing with that skank blank. The very year I came forward, also election year, I seem to remember. Trump was right all along, and I look forward to Postcard Girl and her testimony on the stand. Hey, blank and blank. Let's see the story, blank, from Daily Beast, someone who works with you personally, and blank, The Guardian made of it. Fun times, folks, but blank, I can assure you it's not fun when it's your own children, and once again, blank is more than welcome to arrest me. At least I will get my day in court and stop deleting evidence. Interesting. And it talks about who's responsible for an S attempt in Macedonia when I was hiding. You are, and I hope you get charged for premeditated murder. You knew I was vulnerable. Everything you did was designed to hurt me. So this is basically somebody actually saying as a victim that they have had attempts on their life that were essentially framed as the S word. All right. Crazy. It says blank Macron and blank, who is Richard Levitt, the attorney I've never spoken to, who wrote on my behalf to blank, telling her I'm not to testify in the Jean-Luc Brunel trial in France. Precisely how many trips, my dear, did you make to France? Blank Macron and blank, who is Richard Levitt. Mr. Trump and Putin Epstein always said that he would blank, blank, blank. You came close to blank as per this email, didn't you? Please may I ask you protect them, Mr. Putin and Trump, please. This is out of control. So, look, there's a lot of people who basically believe that she didn't do that to herself, okay? And it was very suspicious, right? It was very, very suspicious. People saying, oh, automatically assumed it had been an that killed her since it would have been easily accessible for and easy to disguise as that. Hearing now that it was a gunshot wound, I believe she was in a dark place and depressed, but she had kids. I don't think that's how someone with kids would plan their way out, especially if they were doing it at home, not just out of caution for who might find them, but for the kids to have an opportunity to see their mother before the body's taken away. I'm curious to know more about the situation. Where specifically was the wound? If it was somewhere that would be severely disfiguring, that would make for a higher chance of this being a murder. For the alleged cause of death revealed, I would no longer think that doing it to themselves was the most likely possibility, but this would make it even more convincing. I'm obviously curious what happened with the weapon also. It would be fairly easy to stage a murder by gun, especially by somebody who had experience with this type of thing, which I expect from whoever would have been assigned the job of killing her, but I do want to know how convincing the set was. Gun placement, fingerprints or lack thereof, gunshot residue, splatter. Are we to expect a decent investigation into this? I have no idea how these things are handled in Australia or who would be in charge of investigating or what details they would be allowed to read. To release. This is that last sentence from the FBI. Are you kidding me? You have 3 million files proving nothing was sensationalized, and they choose to downplay, sweep under the rug, and blame victims. Okay. It says there's an interesting narrative, but it's not one accurate to reality as there's no evidence to corroborate the alleged S word. Okay, so this is more in context on that paperwork that I was just reading. It says, read that file if it's still up. It's a heartbreaking thread of interactions with a victim and a law firm, 37 pages long, and it shows so much corruption in that law office. They tormented her and used her to get to victims. Brad Edwards also used the victims to write a book about Epstein, claiming to fight for the victims. Okay. That's crazy. It's crazy. All right. We're not going to do all that. We're not going to do all that. But yeah, it was very suspicious. I mean, it would be interesting. Let's take a little look back at some of the reporting on when she actually passed away and how people were kind of phrasing that.
Welcome back and Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Breaking news coming in, some sad news to share. We're learning this from the New York Post, several other outlets reporting this as well. Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted Jeffrey Epstein, on Thursday. This is just weeks after she made headlines for saying that she had days to live after she claimed to have been hit by a bus. A statement given to NBC News was quoted as such from the 41-year-old's family. It says, "It's with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. She lost her life to after being a lifelong victim of."
So, look, a lot of people are not going to buy this, okay? Everybody in the comments is saying literally nobody thinks this was an S word, all right? No freaking way. It's so obvious. We're not that stupid. They really think we're all complete idiots. Yeah, the evil people killed that lady. She did not do this to herself. This is a joke, right? Someone needs to be charged with murder. The reporter sounds like he doesn't even believe this crap. Disgusting. No one's buying it. What? She ended after being awarded all this money and leaving 2 children behind? Something ain't mathing here. Now release the list. No excuses. Arrests need to happen. No way. Nope. Didn't. Nope. I don't believe it either, to be honest with you. So I think what would be good is, look, I want to dig a little bit deeper into her story and just give you more context as to why it probably isn't likely that she did this to herself. Let's give you some background on how she was actually drawn into Epstein's circle as a teenager, because she didn't know about no Prince Andrew, all right? She's getting $12 million payments as a hush money from Prince Andrew, and the FBI want to talk about, oh, there was no evidence she was trafficked. How did she end up with Prince? How did she end up with a prince? How did she end up with a prince? She's from a broken home. She's from a dodgy, gutter home. How the does she end up with a Prince of England? It makes no sense. Giuffre's early life. She grew up at the down-at-heel town of Loxahatchee in Florida as a middle child and only daughter of the mother Lynn and father Sky Roberts. While her early childhood was marked by a poverty that verged on neglect, had been far from idyllic, it was fairly ordinary. This, I'm not being offensive, but this type of person doesn't end up crossing paths with the Prince of England. Doesn't happen. That was until she claimed that her father Sky Roberts started her, an allegation that Robert strenuously denied in a public statement published in the book, where he claims that he only tried to give his children a good life, but Roberts didn't respond to additional requests to comment from the Times. In her preteen and early teenage years, Giuffre had come to see her value only in what her body could offer, having casual with any boy who so much as asked. She recalled lying in her bed one night thinking of a quote from one of her favorite children's books, Charlotte's Web, where a lamb tells Wilbur that pigs mean less than nothing to her. Wilbur is outraged and argued that there's no such thing. Giuffre says that she tried to remember a time when she'd been more than nothing. It's so sad. Writing in her book, she says the early abuse she suffered made her the perfect victim for Jeffrey Epstein. Recruited by Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago. Home life had become so intolerable, Giuffre would run away frequently. Age 13 and living on the street, she fell into the clutches of Ron Eppinger, a local PDF in his mid-60s. For 6 months, he held her prisoner, sent her to spend time with his various acquaintances. In a deposition given this July, Maxwell named Eppinger. She described him as his from when she was 14 or 15. He was in prison for smuggling immigrants into the US for S-work, and she was rescued by an FBI SWAT team. Recalling being a high school dropout living in a trailer with in her parents' backyard, she writes, I thought I had nowhere to go but up, but what happened next seemed like a gift. In the summer of 2000, her father, then a maintenance man at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club and Spa in Palm Beach, got her a job there as a $9 an hour locker room attendant. Roberts introduced Giuffre to Trump in his office. Oh, no. The two men were not friends exactly, but had been close enough that Giuffre said there were paintings of them, pictures of them posing together. Trump couldn't have been friendlier, she writes. A week later, while reading a book about massage, in walked a woman in her 30s with smart manicured nails and a clipped British accent, who promptly introduced herself. Maxwell asked if Giuffre would be interested in earning a little money on the side, massaging her friend, a wealthy man and longtime member of Mar-a-Lago. That same evening, the book alleged her dad drove her, she was still 16 and without a license, to Epstein's house, a palatial pink wash mansion at the end of a dead-end road. Now, it is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. She was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell out of the Mar-a-Lago Club. And now, look, a lot of people want to point the finger at Trump. I'm scared of saying anything bad about Trump. But to be fair, this incident and incidents like this was allegedly, at least according to Trump, part of the reason that Trump wanted to cut ties with Epstein. And according to him, right, he didn't like the way that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were skulking around Mar-a-Lago, scooping up young women.
Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach to begin?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
So look, there's been a lot of wild accusations against Trump. And look, I don't want to get into them. Okay, I'm scared. But also, a lot of crazy things have been said about Trump that are so crazy and brazen. It really is hard to believe them. I could believe that Trump genuinely wasn't feeling it, right? Whether you want to see him good or bad, I could believe that he wasn't comfortable with this going on, right? And you heard it there, black and white. Virginia Giuffre said she was recruited out of Mar-a-Lago by Ghislaine Maxwell, who approached her. And whether you feel like that's someone taking your employees, maybe you're completely unaware of the horrible things that they ended up doing, but poaching employees, full stop, that probably was upsetting. And I could believe that. Okay, we'll leave it there. But in 2001, okay, at age 17, Virginia Giuffre was then, rubbing shoulders in high society. She was photographed at an event with British supermodel Naomi Campbell, who Virginia later claimed was fully aware of the ongoing, right? And she posted this on Twitter saying, you saw me at your parties, you saw me in Epstein's homes, you saw me on the plane, you saw me get my hair cut, you saw me on the streets, and you watched me you saw me, hashtag Naomi Campbell, right? There she is. There's Virginia, right? I could do a video on Naomi Campbell being involved in this, all right? Crazy. Naomi Campbell is such a disgrace. How could you see what is obviously a child at your party's hanging out with grown-ass old men and not say anything? It is sickening. Now, she would continue to kind of implicate numerous high-profile figures. And again, the FBI says no proof that she was anywhere. so I guess Prince Andrew and the royal family just sent her 12 million as just GoFundMe, a little fun walking around money. But she would make implications of other high profile figures, including former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, who obviously we're now hearing was locked in with Epstein because Epstein was the biggest landowner in New Mexico. He had the Zorro Ranch up there, and unfortunately, Virginia Giuffre implicated other powerful men. All right, they're saying Jeffrey sent girl to governor and senator for relations. She testified, all right? That's what she claimed. What? Who could possibly? Oh, I'm sure she just decided to end things herself. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein and a friend sent an girl to have relations with former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, former U.S. Senator George Mitchell, and asset manager Glenn Dublin. Okay, this is from Bloomberg.com, so don't come at me, all right? Don't come and... I like being alive. Let's just say that. She testified in court documents made public for the first time Friday. Virginia Giuffre said she was sent to modeling executive Jean-Luc Brunel, the late MIT scientist Marvin Minsky. She claimed she was an S-slave for Epstein from 2000 to 2002. She was forced to have relations with Prince Andrew, Harvard University law professor Alan Dershowitz. Both men have denied these allegations. Prince Andrew denied the allegations so hard that he sent her £12 million. Okay. So this basically explains how Epstein is, facing these trafficking charges. Richardson said in a statement he'd never met Giuffre, called the allegations completely false, and said during his limited interaction with Epstein he'd never seen him in the presence of girls. All right. Andrew said the same thing. Oh, what do you know? We got pictures of you with the girl. Didn't really work out, did it? Mitchell said the allegation in the release documents is false. In a statement, he said he never met with, spoke with, or had contact with Giuffre, or knew that, or suspected that Epstein had inappropriate conduct with girls. Now we know everything that we know. You can't even, like, with a straight face tell us such ridiculousness, right? Like, you never knew or suspected that Epstein had... Bro, the dude was convicted of inappropriate conduct with girls. But hey, okay, let's just take what he says. Dubin and his wife Eva called the allegations demonstrably false and defamatory in an emailed statement. A spokeswoman added the Dubins have flight records and other evidence that definitively disprove such an event occurred. Okay, I don't want to get sued, but I'll believe you. I believe you. Jean-Luc Brunel couldn't be reached for comment. Perhaps that's because he was swinging from the rafters of a Paris jail cell. Maybe not at this point, clearly. But he went out the same way as Epstein. They declined to comment. All right. Giuffre's lawyer, Sigrid McCauley, said the denials are predictable, calling them bumper sticker-like statements. The truth will have the final word. Virginia Roberts Giuffre is a survivor and a woman to be believed. She believes a reckoning of inevitable accountability has begun. She said she hoped more documents will be unsealed, adding the body of evidence that's been amassed is powerful. In her 2015 civil lawsuit, Giuffre, a Floridian, claimed Epstein abused her for all these years. We already heard that, right? So, interestingly enough, it says that case settled with the judge sealing about 2,000 pages of documents. The appeals court on Friday upheld its previous order to unseal those documents. Some that were made public included emails, photographs, and flight logs. Other will undergo court review to determine what else can be released. The Giuffre deposition, parts of which were established as exhibits to court filings, included her testimony responding to newspaper articles about her experience and explaining where she got from. All right. It said... Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asked her to name the other politically connected and financially powerful people that Ghislaine told her to go and have relations with. That they instructed me to go to George Mitchell, Jean-Luc Brunel, Bill Richardson, another prince, I don't know his name, a guy that owns a hotel, a really large hotel chain, I can't remember which hotel it was. She said there was, another foreign president, I can't remember his name, there was a whole bunch of them, it's hard for me to remember all of them. She was asked about her relations with Dubin. What word did Ghislaine Maxwell tell you to go and have relations with him? Said it was the same all the time, all right? Said they want me to go and provide these men with a massage. She was, for Richardson, she said she was sent to New Mexico. And then this kind of recaps, basically, Epstein basically finessed his way out of his charges to a really cushy deal after being arrested for okay? They all denied it. Of course, they all denied it. Now, interestingly enough, right, all more reasons not to believe that she checked herself out, to be honest, if you ask me. Now, her posthumously released memoir contained chilling allegations, including a brutal encounter with an unnamed prime minister. Now, some people have muddied the waters and said that you can't believe what she says in this, but it says Virginia Giuffre beaten and by well-known prime minister in an attack that broke Epstein's spell, her memoir reveals. Okay, let's get this clown out of here. And it says prominent was bloodied, beaten, and by a well-known prime minister in a series of encounters that finally helped the team break free from Epstein's spell. Her posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving and fighting for justice, she recalled begging Epstein to step in after the unnamed politician forced her to beg for her life, but the PDF coldly told her that it was just part of her job. Just part of the job. After the attack, I couldn't stay a fool. Having been treated so brutally and then seeing Epstein's callous reaction to how terrorized I felt, I had to accept that Epstein meted out praise merely as a manipulation to keep me subservient, she wrote, according to the excerpt shared with the Post. Epstein cared only about Epstein. Jeffrey simply referred to the deranged man as the Prime Minister, saying she was afraid that the brute would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. In the past, she pointed to Israel's Prime Minister Eid Barak in court filings as one of the many elites that had abused her, a claim that he repeatedly denied. In her memoir, she said she first met the Prime Minister on Epstein's private island in the US Virgin Islands sometime in 2002. When she was just 18, she was ordered to escort him to a cabana, but the man made it clear as soon as they were alone that he wanted violence. He had abused her more savagely than anyone else had. She rushed to Epstein and begged him not to send her back to him. I got down on my knees and pleaded with him. I don't know if he feared the man or owed him a favor, but he wouldn't make any promises, saying coldly of the brutality, "You'll get that sometimes." Sometime later, Epstein sent her. This website sucks. Sometime later, Epstein sent her back to the politician for a second encounter conducted entirely in a cabin aboard Epstein's plane. The experience was far less violent. She spent the entire hour in fear he would suddenly strike or shoot her. She admitted before that violent experience she had given Epstein the benefit of the doubt and believed that he cared for the girls that he was shooting. She was not completely naive, she wrote, acknowledging his predilection for young Tings was a sickness, but in his twisted way he meant well. His indifference to her fear and injuries from the Prime Minister forced the 18-year-old to face the truth. Chillingly, she predicted her own death in the passage, saying she would not survive a life of and would either take or die at the hands of one of Epstein's friends. I didn't know it then, but my second interaction with the Prime Minister was the beginning of the end for me, she said. She stopped recruiting other young girls for Epstein, as he had forced her to do in the past, and the final breaking point came that summer when Epstein and his Madam Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded with Virginia to carry their child, a proposal that came with mansions, wealth, and around-the-clock nannies, but would require her to sign away any legal rights. Look at this pack. She left the couple's grasp not long after, but her experiences haunted her for the rest of her life, particularly the greedy, cruel look on the Prime Minister's face as he watched me. The man accused, the Prime Minister, has repeatedly denied any claims or any knowledge. All right, but he was a personal friend of Epstein's and used several $1 million of Epstein's money to finance a security company. Okay. No mention, not really any detail of the checking out. But yeah, it's crazy. All right, it's crazy. Some people don't buy it. Some people don't buy it. They don't believe it. They believe that she was convincing other people to join. But other excerpts from the memoir provided a very deeply disturbing look into the scale of the abuse that she was enduring. Okay, these are some disturbing excerpts from the memoir. I want to be careful. I don't want to. She said she had relations with Prince Andrew on separate occasions, including one that involved a lot of other people who were young. A lot of them didn't speak English. Epstein was laughing about how they couldn't really communicate and said they were easy to get along with. Said that she was left with so I don't even want to described relations with him as sadomasochistic, restraints other. Oh my god. She talks about seeing the infamous photo of Prince Andrew and Epstein walking through Central Park after his first conviction for, noting that this was the moment that spurred her to go on the record. I was revolted to see two of my together out for a stroll, but mostly I was amazed that a member of the royal family would be stupid enough to appear in public with Epstein. On hearing of Epstein's death in prison, she felt disappointed, saying this isn't how justice was supposed to work out. On Andrew, she recalled telling journalists he knows exactly what he's done and I hope he comes clean about it and that the royals will be held to account. Andrew denied everything. After casting doubt on my credibility for so long, Prince Andrew's team had gone so far as to hire internet trolls to hassle me. Andrew had also asked his bodyguard to dig up dirt on her and claims the Met Police said it was actively looking at the allegation. Said on taking the prince to court, she recalled Andrew hid behind the well-guarded gates of Balmoral to avoid being served court papers. She admits we'd never get a confession, of course, but that's what settlements are designed to avoid. We're trying to get the best next thing, a general acknowledgement of what I had been through. Having denied all the allegations, Andrew basically lives rent-free on the royal mansion on Windsor Estate. Okay, I think he's been kicked out there now. And she said that Andrew losing his royal titles was at least a symbolic gesture, but there's still more he could do by helping the US investigators. Okay, it's very, very sad. So It's just dark, right? And interestingly enough, before she passed away, she was one of the people who believed that Epstein was still alive. Okay, it says, does anyone ever feel like Epstein is sitting pretty on an island somewhere in hiding? That's Virginia Giuffre herself. Her saying it herself. Saying 2 different spellings for Jeffrey Epstein. 2 people with different spelling on the flight logs. Jeffrey versus Jeffrey, the proper Epstein. So where's Jeffrey Epstein? That's what she's saying, all right? I think it's misspelled on purpose. So the chief medical examiner doing the autopsy, one of the most prolific deaths in all of America. Guy's name is everywhere. Manages to misspell it. Notice the ME is the same, M1919423. Okay. Very, very interesting. So she would reply in the comments. Someone would respond to her saying, more to the point, do you? She said, I have my fears he's still alive. He was smart. I mean, like genius level smart. And he had so much dirt on so many heavy hitters. I've never been able to shake the thought of him laughing his ass off at the fact that he got away with it again. And someone else says, do you? She says, sometimes I knew him for a long time. And when he said to me he'd never get caught and stay in jail, I believed him and I still kind of do. It's a scary thought, but one that I can't shake. Okay. So let's recap some of the very odd and not really sensical events that led up to her passing. Okay, so just weeks before her death, on the 31st of March 2025, she would spark alarm with a cryptic social media post saying that she only had days left to live. She basically accused Epstein of, and she said a troubling IG post from hospital claiming doctors told her she had 4 days to live, now down to 3 after an apparent car crash. In a Sunday IG post, she shared a photo of a bruised face from the hospital bed, asserting in the caption she went into renal failure after a school bus crashed into her at a whopping 110 kilometers an hour while she was slowing down for a turn. She claimed her injuries were so severe the doctors gave her just days to live and transferred her to a specialist urology hospital, but despite supposedly being at death's door, she still managed to muster up the strength to update her IG followers. She seemed to accept her alleged fate, writing she was ready to go, but wanted to see her kids one last time, which seemed to cast doubt on that happening, and ended the post by thanking her fans for being a part of her life. Now, a lot of people on Reddit didn't think this was real. They said she didn't look injured. She didn't look like you could take photos of yourself in the hospital when you get these kinds of injuries. And a lot of people speculated that somebody else had posted it. And interestingly, it said the details of her hospital visit are unclear. There don't appear to be any media reports from Perth, the city she lives with her 3 kids, or anywhere in Australia confirming her claim of a car accident involving a speeding school bus. Then, the following day, the Australian authorities just came out. The police downplayed the situation, reporting that there was maybe a little recent car accident that she was involved in, but it was only minor. But then why is she in hospital talking about she's got days to live?
Australia police explained they know of a minor crash between a school bus and a car that was reported by the bus driver the following day, but there were no reported injuries to them as a result of the crash. Here's what the officers have said.
I do know there was an accident on the 24th of March. It was a bus with another vehicle.
And was there any passengers on the bus at the time, are you aware?
I'm not aware of passengers on the bus, but certainly the bus driver reported it as he was required to do and in the right time frames. And I'm advised it was about $2,000 damage in the vehicle, not aware of any injuries.
Now, separately, a spokesperson for the East Metropolitan Health Service has told Australian media that Ms Giuffre is not at any of their facilities.
So it don't really make too much sense, right? And as they're saying in the comments, is it me or is something really just not adding up? She's not in hospital. It wasn't a serious crash. Something stinks to high heavens. Anyone here after news of her checking out? Suspicious. Needs investigation. No medical professional will tell you the exact number of days you have to live. The school bus driver reported the crash the following day. That detail alone is enough to make this BS stink. And more discrepancies would come out just days later. So then it came out, it said evidence is mounting that Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre might have lied about the seriousness of her car wreck in Australia last month, according to a report. Multiple parents of children on a school bus that collided with her car blasted the Epstein accuser, with one calling her a liar for saying that she only had 4 days to live. A bit weird, isn't it? That parents of the kids on the school bus would come out to talk down on this woman. Like, what? The parents told London's Telegraph newspaper their kids quickly dismissed the accident as nothing more than a small crash after exiting the bus to assess the damage. They also reportedly blasted Giuffre's characterization that she suffered life-threatening injuries. Who does this? Who does this and comes out and says stuff like this? One parent, Emmy Rose Wright, whose 3 kids were aboard the bus, told the Telegraph there's no damage to the bus and none of the kids are injured. Another parent, Hayley Miller, said she was disgusted by Giuffre's Instagram post showing her badly bruised face with a caption warning she had 4 days left on this earth. Miller said the whole story is sick. I don't know what's true and what's not, but I do know the injuries are not from the bus incident. What is going on here? What type of people come out and try and insult a survivor of SA for having a car crash? Miller added, it's lies. I don't know what she's trying to get from all of it, but I do feel bad for her and I hope she gets help. According to police, Jeffrey got in the fender bender with the school bus in Nergaby, a farm town 12 miles north of Perth, just after 3 p.m. Cops described it as a minor collision with no reported injuries. Jeffrey's rep issued a statement saying she transported herself to hospital after her condition worsened following the accident. The rep claimed the children on the bus were traumatized, which is the opposite of what everyone else says. All right? Why are people coming out to comment on this school bus crash? Makes no sense. And look at this, right? We got a whole Daily Mail article with an interview with the bus driver, right? The bus driver is basically giving his side of the story, contradicting everything that Virginia Giuffre said, all right? She's used to that at this point, people contradicting the things that she said. But it's just so bizarre that this would even be a thing. The bus driver claimed that the crash had been blown out of proportion and accused Miss Giuffre of exaggerating the severity of what happened. Mr. Munn said the crash happened after he'd followed a slow-moving white car for 3 kilometers before deciding to overtake when it went under 75 kilometers an hour, and it was safe for him to pass around 3 p.m. He said the small Toyota Highlander involved in the collision was driven by a 71-year-old woman, believed to be Miss Giuffre's carer. He said that he had no recollection of her being in the Toyota, but a police report into the incident stated that a woman aged 41 was a passenger. So he's got all of this talk for her, but then he says he has no recollection of her even being there. So now we're seeing bits of the car that were apparently left at the scene, all right? And this is a whole breakdown of the incident, a picture of the school bus, all right? It's like, it's just very intriguing, right? The sequence of events of the bus is traveling behind a car, slows down, the bus driver goes to overtake, the driver of the car then turns into a property without indicators on, the bus driver beeps the horn, and the vehicle clips the back of the car, both pull over and the bus driver gets out to check on the motorist, the car sustains minor damage and both vehicles drive off. This is the site of the crash. This is all where it happened. So it's been well documented. The bus driver said he had 29 children still on board as he began his maneuver, only for the car to suddenly start turning right in front of him to get into a rural property. Mr. Munns, a school bus driver for 16 years, said he beeped the horn. He was unable to avoid clipping the car, damaging its tail like in what he described as a minor collision. I don't like how he's trying to act like he's in the right. You're driving too fast. If people want to turn, maybe they forget to use their signals, but you should be ready to slow down for any car in front of you. Maybe a child runs out in front of the road and they have to hit the brakes. You need to be traveling at a reasonable speed. It's his fault. All right. He said he immediately stopped to check on the car driver, who had also pulled over and was satisfied that they weren't hurt. They said the 71-year-old driver swapped details, including phone numbers, and they drove off afterwards. He decided to report the incident to the police as he felt the circumstances were a bit sus. Oh, yeah? Crawled out the woodwork suddenly to report this. This ain't adding up. He insisted he was under no obligation to report the crash, as the law only required accidents to be reported if they caused more than $2,000 worth of damage, and he viewed that the incident didn't pass the threshold. He said he telephoned the driver as a courtesy to say he reported the accident, and she rang him back to say that there had been a passenger who had suffered a black eye. And then he said he was horrified to see Miss Giuffre's Instagram post saying she'd been injured when a school bus plowed into her at such a high speed, and said that basically her description blew it all out of proportion. He didn't even see her in the car. Well, you didn't see her, so you can't really talk down on her claims. And he said the accident was caused by the carer. The driver basically pulled out in front of me. I made sure she was all right and went and did a police report. That's cap. You were behind them. You hit them from behind and you weren't paying attention. You were going too fast and you didn't slow down for the car in front of you that was slowing down. Doesn't matter. They didn't use their signals. All right. Said she was elderly. Asked if she was okay. She said, yes, I'm okay. Asked if she lived here. She said, I'm a carer. She needs to put her indicator. I told her she needs to put her indicator on when you turn. Yeah, well, you should slow down. This guy, this is so weird. That's all the conversation was. She asked how the kids were. I said, fine. It wasn't a major crash. Said the impact was so minor. There was no damage to his roo bar. The bar designed to protect his bus from damage caused by hitting kangaroos on the road. There's no damage on my roo bar. I still had 29 kids on the bus. I didn't even take a photo because it wasn't warranted. Would have been good to see a photo. He told why he reported the crash to police. I did because to me it sounded a little bit sus. You don't have to do a police report if the damage is under 2,000, but it sounded sus to me. We have a very good reputation, so it's all about safety. It just wasn't normal. Weird driving. We stopped. You were driving too fast, buddy. All right. I don't buy this. There's a bunch of stuff about this story that don't make sense. I thought it was very strange, and I told her I'd already done a police report, and that's all I have to say. She told me there was another person in the car. Mr. Munn said a police officer who photographed his bus was laughing as he did so. I actually feel sorry for her. If I hit that car at 110, they would be dead. I used to drive ambulances for years, and I know how to have a good look. Got the all clear from police. If they want to come for my insurance, I'll fight that as well. She said she was hit by a bus at 110. He said he was fed up about the crash and having to deal with its aftermath. I would rather this just go away. Just a little bit strange. Now, interestingly enough, okay, following her passing, her family would actually release a handwritten journal entry and a tweet that was uncovered would only raise more questions, all right? Virginia Giuffre, family reveals words from journal after she checked out. It says, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers need to show the battle lines are drawn and we stand together to fight for the future of the victims. The family found a raw handwritten note she penned before making her own and they're sharing it with the world. So I just read you that. It says, is protesting the answer? I don't know, but we've got to start somewhere. You know, didn't leave behind a note. Allegedly did that to herself, didn't leave behind a note. And then this tweet's gone around as well. I've read you this tweet earlier, but she said, I would never take life. All right. Her death came just weeks after she claimed she only had a few days to live following a car accident. Now, a lot of theories have been going around on Reddit as to what actually happened to her. I honestly don't think that it is. I don't think she checked out herself. Virginia Giuffre warned us. The bruises, the countdown, the isolation, her husband was her handler. I've been looking into this for a long time. It always felt wrong. The media made it feel like it was sad and complicated, maybe just a tragic end. But when you go back and lay out the timeline, the pattern doesn't look emotional. It looks operational. In 2002, Virginia escaped Epstein. She'd been for years. She was when it started. She had no documentation, no protection, no home. She made it to Thailand where she enrolled in a massage course. She was alone, vulnerable, and just trying to survive. That's when she met Robert Giuffre. He married her quickly and took her to Australia. I think there was 10 days between meeting and getting married. That's the last time she was independent. From then on, every door to her ran through him. There isn't much publicly about him. No professional history, no media, no presence, no interviews, no past anyone can confirm. He stayed out of frame while she became the face of one of the most explosive legal stories in modern history. She sued Epstein, she sued Ghislaine, she sued Prince Andrew, she gave interviews, she became a symbol of survival, and Robert was next to her, not in court, not in print, not even in reaction. She received $500,000 from Epstein in 2009. The legal expectation was silence, and she broke that. In 2015, she sued Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation, and in 2019, she named Prince Andrew directly and said she was not planning to end her own thing. That wasn't theatrical, it was specific. This is a ChatGPT theory, I'm not going to lie. Epstein had just died under impossible circumstances in custody. People who looked too close ended up gone. She was trying to document her risk. In 2021, she filed a civil suit against Andrew, and that was settled in 2022, and it didn't include a gag order. That means she was finally free to speak without legal restriction, and it was reported she received millions from the settlement. After that, she became quiet. No more big media appearances, no tell-all, no book deal, no release of names. She was still married, still under the same structure that followed her since Thailand. In January, how long is this? In January 2025, she accused Robert of violence and the injuries were serious. Cracked sternum, damage to her eye. She filed a report. He responded by filing a restraining order against her, which the court accepted. She was blocked from seeing her children until June, and she was preparing for the custody hearing, but she didn't make it to June. Her father said he hadn't visited because he believed she was still living with Robert. He said he tried in the past 4 times, but something always went wrong. He didn't give specifics, just that it never worked with Robert in that picture. That makes sense. Isolation doesn't always happen loudly. In March 31st, she posted a photo, visibly bruised, and had claimed she had kidney failure and that she had 4 days left to live. The kind of language that usually comes from doctors or threats, not breakdowns. She said she'd been hit by a school bus going 110. A few days later, the driver came forward and said the collision was minor and she wasn't even in the car. After that, she was treated like a mental health episode, but the bruises were never explained. For 25 days, no updates, no correction, no follow-up. On April 26th, she was found dead. The cause was labeled self-ending. No autopsy results were released publicly. There were no clear details, just the end. Robert didn't issue a statement. There's been no response, no funeral post, no mention of her name, and they were still married. Unless she had a legal will that excluded him, he inherits everything. The Epstein money, the Prince Andrew settlement, her estate. He was the last person to have full legal and physical access to her. The structure of this makes sense if you look at it as a control operation. If you believe Epstein was tied to Mossad and that trafficking ring was part of a blackmail operation, people like Virginia weren't just survivors, they were liabilities. She had direct access to names, timelines, places. She had already cost the Crown a massive settlement and public embarrassment, and around that same time, Victoria Hervey appeared on Piers Morgan. She said Prince Andrew had been used as a scapegoat. She then mentioned Mossad, caught herself and said, "You know who I mean." She then said she wanted to stay alive. That moment wasn't casual. After that, she changed her story. She started defending Andrew, and then she questioned the photo of Virginia. She casted doubt. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she knew what happens when you stay on the wrong side of something like this. Virginia tried to speak. Maybe that final post was the only version of the truth she was still allowed to say, but it didn't make sense on purpose. It made her look unstable and distracted people from the injuries, and it worked. The story was buried before the body was, and Robert still hasn't said anything. They're saying, honestly, the whole Virginia Giuffre situation is just classic too many coincidences territory. She spends years fighting some of the most powerful and protected people on the planet, literally posts, I'm not planning to end, warns about being silenced, then suddenly she's isolated, bruised, blocked from her kid, and dead under a cloud of confusion. Her own lawyer says there's big question marks about the official story. Her father flat out doesn't buy that she did it to herself. There's no public autopsy and no real answers, just a rush to close the book and move on. The pattern's always the same. The people with the most dirt on the system end up gone, and the narrative gets wrapped up fast. When you look at the timing, right after settlements, restraining orders, and public injuries, the silence from her husband, the way the story's being buried, it's hard not to see this as more than just a tragic ending. If you think this is at all just random bad luck, you are not paying attention to how power actually protects itself. I don't personally think that she did it to herself. I can't believe it. It's too crazy. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know whether you think that this is just absolute abject conspiracy or whether you think there's something to this. Too many people have taken that way out in this scenario. It is absolutely ridiculous. Can't believe a shred of it at this point. I've seen too much. Okay. That's it from me today. I've done 5 videos today. I kind of switched up the topics today. I thought maybe we're getting a bit burnt out on the Epstein stuff, but maybe not. Maybe you want to see more of this. So let me know what you thought of this video. I'll be back tomorrow. I have at least one Epstein topic for you, maybe a couple more, depending on what new files and things have been coming up. Or if there's other major big news, like what's going on in Iran or other things, I will keep you guys updated on that as well. Thank you so much for supporting. Rest in peace to Virginia Giuffre, man. I don't believe she did it to herself, but that's just my opinion. All right. Let me know what you guys think.